So we'll be talking about the rest of the beta-lactams, namely cephalosporins, carbapenems, and monobactams. And also, if time permits, we'll be talking about sulfonamides also. So previously we talked about how beta-lactam antimicrobials work, what is their pharmacology, what is their mechanism of action, what is their spectrum of activity, in which conditions it is to be given, in which conditions it is not to be given. So continuing on, we'll be talking about cephalosporins today. I hope you remember what I am talking about. Anyways, आपका antimicrobial general consideration का आज tutorial था, तो I hope आप लोग भागे नहीं होंगे, आप लोगों ने ट्यूट अटेंड किया होगा. देखिए how many are here. 175 are here. कोई बात नहीं. Anyways, so this is what we are talking about, beta-lactam antimicrobials, which include these four broad group of antimicrobials. Antimicrobials बोलें तो antibacterial antimicrobials. We are not talking about antiviral drugs here. We are not talking about antifungal drugs here. We are talking about drugs which act against bacteria. So we are calling them antibacterial antimicrobials. So beta-lactam antimicrobials include these four broad groups, namely penicillin, cephalosporins, carbapenems, and monobactams. And today we'll be talking about cephalosporins, monobactams, and carbapenems. So who can tell me what is the mechanism of action of beta-lactam antimicrobials? एक साथ क्यों क्लब किया गया इनको? Before moving on, can anyone tell me what is the mechanism of action? There is no need to raise your hand. I cannot do anything by raising your hand. Just type your answer. What is the mechanism of action of beta-lactams? Last time हमने penicillins पढ़ा था, तो आप penicillins का भी बता सकते हैं. No one is typing anything. Am I audible still? Yes, sir. Audible, visible. तो कोई आंसर क्यों नहीं लिखता है? What is the mechanism of action? There are 184 of you here. What is the mechanism of action of beta-lactams? What is the mechanism of action of penicillins? How do they act against bacteria? So look, we type current is good, is good, it is good. But कोई ये नहीं लिख रहा है कि what is the mechanism of action of penicillins against bacteria? कितना चला के कितना कुछ पढ़ाया था, उसमें से बिल्कुल बेसिक चीज भी आपको याद नहीं है. हाँ चलो, एक ने किसी ने लिखा, it is a cell wall, bacterial cell wall inhibitor, transpeptidase inhibitor, prevents cross-linking of peptidoglycans in the bacterial cell wall, thus harming the structural integrity of the bacterial cell wall. And because of weak cell wall, bacteria is prone to osmotic stresses. Whatever new bacterium is formed, it is devoid of cell wall. So cell wall is not formed. So penicillins are cell wall synthesis inhibitor. Anyways, now we are moving on to cephalosporins. Cephalosporins Cephalosporins are produced semi-synthetically by chemical attachment of side chains to 7-amino cephalosporanic acid. This is not to be remembered, but this is just a general structure of cephalosporin. So these are two side chains. R1 is the first side chain, R2 is the second side chain. Whatever is the remaining structure is known as 7-amino cephalosporanic acid. You change the side chains, you change the cephalosporin drug, whatever drug it is. Whenever you change that drug, these side chains will confer different properties to an individual cephalosporin. And what are those different properties? Those different properties could be pharmacokinetic properties, such as their availability by oral route or not, and other important properties that different cephalosporins, because of these different side chains, may be difference in spectrum of activity. Which kind of bacteria is a particular cephalosporin affecting or not? So this is about cephalosporin structure. This is again a schematic representation of the structure of cephalosporin. These are two side chains, R1 and R2. If you remember the structure of penicillin, there is a beta-lactam ring, the four-sided ring, which is attached to a five-sided ring, which in cases of penicillin is thiazolidine ring or something else. Can anyone tell me? Someone is raising his hand. You can type your questions here. People are still answering that. Anyways, so we are talking about structure. So beta-lactam antimicrobials, they contain a beta-lactam ring, this four-sided ring, which is present in penicillins also. It is also present in cephalosporins. In cases of penicillin, it is attached to a thiazolidine ring, which is a five-sided ring. But in cases of cephalosporin, it is attached to a six-sided ring. So there is a slight change in structure. In penicillin, the side chain is R. Whatever changes we were talking about in penicillins, different penicillin was due to difference in the single side chain. In cephalosporins, different molecules could be R and R dash, could be due to attachment of these two side chains, namely R and R dash. Structures are not important, but they might help you in remembering what we are talking about. We are talking about cephalosporins here. What are cephalosporins? It is a subclass of beta-lactam antimicrobials. So cephalosporins are beta-lactam antimicrobials that share the mechanism of action and a similar structure with penicillin. यही बोल रहे थे हम अभी तक. Penicillins and cephalosporins have same four-member core beta-lactam ring, but cephalosporins have an additional atom in the side chain. ये भी अभी आपको बताया. And modified side chains on either ring alter the antimicrobial activity, antimicrobial spectrum. Which microbes are they affecting? How much they are affecting? Their resistance to beta-lactamases. How different cephalosporins are resistant to beta-lactamases. Beta-lactamases are drug-destroying enzyme produced by bacteria, which destroy the beta-lactam ring, thus making beta-lactam antibiotics, antimicrobials, ineffective. So these side chains confer resistance to beta-lactamases, and they also affect the pharmacokinetics of a drug. How is the drug absorbed? How it is distributed in the body? How it is metabolized? How it is eliminated? So cephalosporins have same mechanism of action, same resistance mechanisms as penicillins. Penicillins में mechanism of resistance क्या था? Can anyone tell me what was the mechanism of resistance to penicillins? No, you are talking about mechanism of action. I'm asking what is the mechanism of resistance that bacteria develop? I know there's a lag in our answers reaching Your answers reaching me. Okay. So there are several mechanisms of action by which bacteria develop resistance. Some of those could be alteration. Most of you are correcting, answering correctly, that there may be production of altered penicillin binding proteins. Bacteria may develop efflux pumps. There may be mutation gene transfer. Some are saying beta-lactamase production or drug destroying enzyme production, beta-lactamase production. So beta-lactamase production is by far the most common mechanism by which bacteria develop resistance against penicillins. So most of you are right. So we are talking about cephalosporins. Cephalosporins have same mechanism of action, same resistance mechanisms as penicillins, but cephalosporins tend to be more resistant than penicillin to certain beta-lactamases. So if a bacteria is showing resistance against a penicillin, you may try giving the patient cephalosporin, because cephalosporins tend to be more resistant than penicillins to certain beta-lactamases. ऐसा कोई जरूरी नहीं है. This is not an absolute statement. It can go other way around also. A bacteria may not be susceptible to a cephalosporin, but is susceptible to penicillin also. But anyways, this is a general statement that cephalosporins tend to be more resistant than penicillins to certain beta-lactamases. And penicillin susceptible pathogens, those bacteria which are susceptible to penicillins usually are also cephalosporin susceptible. There are certain exceptions such as Listeria and Pasteurella. Now, these are some general statement again, that no cephalosporin is active against MRSA, methicillin resistant Staph aureus, but there are 5th generation cephalosporins which are active against MRSA also. Cephalosporins are also not active against Enterococcus, Listeria, Legionella, Clostridium difficile, Campylobacter, and penicillin resistant pneumococci. This is again a relative statement. There is no absolute in medicine. There is no absolute in pharmacology also. But these are some general statements. Let's say you encountered a penicillin resistant pneumococci. Then combination of drugs are given, and in those combination, more often than not, you will find that a cephalosporin is also given. A cephalosporin and aminoglycoside. Another drug may be combined for management of penicillin resistant pneumococci. But still, for learning sake, you can remember this, that no cephalosporin is active against MRSA, except 5th generation cephalosporins. 5th generations have activity against methicillin resistant beta-lactamases. No cephalosporin is active against Enterococcus, Listeria, Legionella, C. diff, Campylobacter, and penicillin resistant pneumococci. Moving on to classification. How are cephalosporins classified? Cephalosporins are classified as 1st generation, 2nd generation, 3rd generation, 4th generation, and now 5th generation cephalosporins based on bacterial susceptibility patterns and resistance to beta-lactamases. As we go from 1st generation to 4th generation, there is activity of cephalosporin shifts from gram-positive bacteria to gram-negative bacteria. And as we go from 1st generation to 4th generation cephalosporin, resistance to beta-lactamases increases. So a 4th generation cephalosporin in general may be more resistant to a number of beta-lactamases produced by bacteria as compared to 1st generation. So 1st generation may be susceptible to destruction by beta-lactamases, but 4th generation tend to be more resistant. 1st generation cephalosporins have more activity towards gram-positive bacteria as compared to gram-negative. And as we go towards the 4th generation, they have more activity towards gram-negative bacteria. This is also a relative statement. So these are some, remember, this is a slide showing the name of some medicines, some drugs which belong to, again, someone is raising hand. There is no I cannot do anything when you raise your hand. Just type your query or question. So these are drugs belonging to first generation cephalosporins. जरूरी नहीं है कि आप सारी ड्रग्स के नाम याद करें. A Nobel laureate, a person who received Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine, once said that a good physician never uses more than 50 medicine. You know, so as you grow, as you become specialized, super specialized doctors, you will have a very few medicines that you have to think about. We are trying to tell you the general principles of pharmacology here. So there may be so many members to a single class of drug. You need not remember each and every one of them, but you should remember the basic principle that is associated with that class. Anyways, so cephalosporins, first generation cephalosporins, these are certain drugs which belong to first generation cephalosporins. Oral one are these, parenteral one are these. Oral one includes cephalexin, cephradine, and cephalosporin. Parenteral, those which cannot be given orally, include cephalosporin and cephazolin. Similarly, second generation cephalosporins, oral one include cefuroxime acetate, cefaclor, cefprozil. Parenteral one includes cefuroxime, cefoxitin, and cefotetan. Third generation, coming to third generation cephalosporins, oral one includes cefexime, cefdinir, whereas parenteral one include cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, cefoperazone, ceftazidime, and ceftriaxoxime. This is often asked as a short note. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप सिर्फ third generation cephalosporins पढ़ लें. Someone can ask you about second generation cephalosporins also. Someone can ask you about fourth generation cephalosporins or fifth generation cephalosporins also. But third generation cephalosporins are overall more important, because they are more liable to be used and misused. They have a very good activity against a lot of bacteria. They are commonly available. They are relatively cheap. Oral ones are available. So there is a lot of use and misuse of this class of medicine. Anyways, moving on to fourth generation cephalosporin. Fourth generation only include those which can be injected, or parenteral one, namely cefepime and cefepime. Fifth generation also include only parenteral antimicrobials, namely ceftaroline. Ceftaroline Pozamil is the name ceftaroline, ceftobiprole, and ceftolozane plus tazobactam. Who can tell me what is tazobactam? Beta-lactamase inhibitor. Okay. So this particular antimicrobial, which is otherwise destroyed by beta-lactamases, is given along with tazobactam, which is the beta-lactamase inhibitor, and this combination is quite handy, quite useful. So anyways, fifth generation include ceftaroline, ceftobiprole, and ceftolozane plus tazobactam. This is a good table taken from one of your textbooks, which shows activity, which shows the infections which are covered by first generation, second generation, third generation, and fourth generation cephalosporins. First generation cephalosporins such as cefazolin and cephalexin are effective against gram-positive cocci. इसकी सिर्फ मैं first वाली line पढ़ूंगा आपको के लिए. Is effective against gram-positive cocci, not MRSA. None of these first, second, third, or fourth generation is active against MRSA. So first generation have good activity against gram-positive cocci. Second generation, such as cefotetan and cefaclor, have good activity against gram-negative bacilli. है ना, यहाँ पे gram-negative bacilli लिखा है, gram-negative cocci नहीं लिखा है. So gram-negative bacilli. First generation has good activity against gram-positive cocci. Second generation has good activity against gram-negative bacilli. Third generation have activity against many gram-positive and gram-negative cocci as well as gram-negative bacilli. Then there are certain individual characteristics of third generation cephalosporins. We'll be talking about those important individual characteristics as we go along. Fourth generation combine the gram-positive activity of first drug, because first generation have good activity against gram-positive foci. So fourth generation combine the good gram-positive activity of first generation drugs with the gram-negative activity of third generation drug. Third generation drug are active against gram-negative foci and gram-negative bacilli. So if a drug is combining the third generation, combining the gram-negative activity of third generation cephalosporin with the gram-positive activity of first generation cephalosporin, that becomes a fourth generation cephalosporin. That becomes a quite handy, quite useful drug. Plus fourth generation cephalosporins, as we talked about, they are resistant to several beta-lactamases produced by so many different kinds of bacteria. So fourth generation, as we go from first to fourth generation, activity against beta-lactamases increases. They become more resilient to so many beta-lactamases. So I hope something is clear. First generation is effective against gram-positive foci. Second generation is effective against gram-negative bacilli. Third generation is active against gram-positive foci as well as gram-negative foci and gram-negative bacilli. And fourth generation combine the gram-positive activity of first generation drug with the gram-negative activity of third generation drugs. Moving on, now we will talk about a little bit about first generation cephalosporins, and we will try to cover few members of this group of antimicrobials. This group will into first generation cephalosporins. Cephalosporins are beta-lactam antimicrobials, which we are talking about. So we are going to talk about first generation cephalosporins. First generation cephalosporins such as cephalosporin is active against most penicillin B sensitive organism. है ना, ये हमने आपको पहले भी बोला था. Whatever organisms are susceptible to penicillins are susceptible to cephalosporins. So this is nothing new. है ना, यही लिखा हुआ है. And main indication for cephalothin is penicillinase producing Staph aureus. Penicillinase producing Staph aureus. है ना, यहाँ पे this is not MRSA, methicillin resistant Staph aureus. We are saying penicillinase producing Staph aureus. यही तो बताया था आपको. Those organisms which are resilient, they are resistant to penicillins, which are producing penicillinases. In those bacterial infections, you can get cephalosporins, and this first generation cephalosporin का यही main indication है. Cephalothin being a parenteral drug is given IV. Moving on to the next drug, cefazolin. Cefazolin is again a first generation cephalosporin. It is given parenterally. है ना, IV लिखा हुआ है. It has more activity against Klebsiella and E. coli as compared to other first generation cephalosporins, and it is susceptible to Staph beta-lactamases. So Staph aureus infection में a particular Staph infection which is producing beta-lactamases, this may become less active. And this is cefazolin is a preferred parenteral first generation cephalosporins, especially for surgical prophylaxis. This is an important part. This is an important point about cefazolin, that cefazolin is a preferred parenteral first generation cephalosporin, especially for surgical prophylaxis. If a patient is undergoing any kind of surgery and a surgeon wants to give prophylactic antimicrobial, just before giving the incision, he or she can inject the patient with cefazolin. So cefazolin is a preferred parenteral first generation cephalosporins. Other can also be given, but this is usually preferred. क्यों होता है? आप पढ़ना चाहते हैं तो पढ़ सकते हैं. Okay. Moving on to first generation. Moving on with first generation cephalosporin, cephalexin. Cephalexin was orally effective, है ना? First generation में हमने आपको टेबल दिखाया था, which contains oral and parenteral drug. Cephalexin belongs to oral first generation cephalosporin. It is orally effective and it is similar to cephalothin in spectrum, but less active against penicillinase producing staph and against Haemophilus influenza. And it is little bound to plasma proteins, thus attains a high concentration in bile. It attains a high concentration in bile. And cephalexin gives particular property that it attains a higher concentration in bile. So you can think about giving cephalexin in infections of biliary tree. The usual places where cephalexin is used, obs and gynae practices में, soft tissue infections में, you will come across being doctors prescribing cephalexin. Anyways, this is the usual dose at 500 milligrams 6 to 8 hourly. per day for 5 to 7 days, the usual drug regimen. Moving on, talking about other orally effective first generation cephalosporins, cefradine is similar to cephalexin, cephadroxil. What is the difference between cephadroxil and cephalexin? Cephadroxil is a close congener of cephalexin. It has good tissue penetration and it has more sustained action at the site of infection. So some people may give cephadroxil in places of cephalexin also. And another good thing is that cephadroxil is to be given well early, so patient compliance increases. Whereas cephalexin needs to be given 2 to 3 times, it is usually given twice daily. Cephadroxil is given twice daily. Anyways, moving on to second generation cephalosporins. देखें कोई कुछ बोल रहा है तो नहीं. No one is saying anything. Anyways, I hope you guys are listening. Moving on to second generation cephalosporins. These are drugs which belong to second generation cephalosporins. हमने इनके नाम आपको बताए थे, नहीं बताए तो आपको दिख रहे होंगे. You can see them. Oral one includes cefuroxime acetal, cefaclor, cefprozil, whereas parenteral one includes cefuroxime, cefoxitin, and cefoxitin. What is cefoxitin? Cefoxitin belongs to second generation cephalosporin. It is a parenteral cephalosporin. Parenteral second generation. It is more active against Serratia, indole positive Proteus, and B. fragilis. B. fragilis क्या है? Can anyone tell me what is B. fragilis? Is it asking you to be fragile? B. fragile. B. fragilis is an anaerobe. Okay, good. Bacteroides fragilis. ठीक है जी, आप बता रहे हैं, इसका मतलब आपको आता है, मुझे नहीं पता था, आपने बताया तो मैंने बता दिया लोगों को. Also, cefoxitin is highly resistant to beta-lactamase produced by gram-negative bacteria. इसीलिए तो हमने इसको second generation में रखा था, because it is effective against gram-negative bacilli. है ना? दोबारा से हम आपको टेबल दिखाएं तो इसमें second generation में क्या लिखा था? It is effective against gram-negative bacilli. gram-negative bacilli. है ना? हम second generation की ही बात कर रहे हैं. Cefoxitin की, है ना? So, anaerobic and mixed ops and surgical infection, ops in gynae and surgical infections. Cefoxitin can be given. It is also used in cases of tongue abscess. This is the usual dose. It is a parenteral second generation cephalosporin. Now, what is cefuroxime? Cefuroxime. है ना, इसमें लिखा हुआ है cefuroxime acetal is oral one, parenteral one is cefuroxime. तो हम cefuroxime के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. Cefuroxime is resistant to beta-lactamases produced by gram-negative bacteria. We are repeating ourselves. It has high activity against organisms producing these enzymes, including penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhoeae. There are so many abbreviations in medicine. Some of them are not standard abbreviations, but these are used. PPNG is penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhoeae, the causative agent of gonorrhea, sexually transmitted disease. So, cefuroxime is highly active against penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhoeae and ampicillin resistant Haemophilus influenzae. Also, it has significant activity on gram-positive cocci. Second generation cephalosporin है ना? Although it has good activity against gram-negative bacteria, importantly gram-negative bacilli, but it also has good activity against gram-positive cocci. Cefuroxime attains high CSF concentration, high CSF level, so it may be considered to be given in patients of meningitis. Bacterial meningitis अगर किसी को है तो आप उसको cefuroxime दे सकते हैं. So some of the important uses is in meningitis caused by Haemophilus influenzae. मेरा कर्सर ही मुझको नहीं दिख रहा. So some important uses is in meningitis caused by H. influenzae, meningococci and pneumococci. ठीक है? So in that case, cefuroxime can be given. Although other drugs may also be given. Other drugs may also be preferred. Moving on, what is cefaclor? It is again a second generation cephalosporin. It has highly significant activity by oral route. Cefaclor orally absorbable, orally given, second generation cephalosporin. It is more active than first generation against H. influenzae, E. coli, and P. mirabilis. है ना, यही तो बोला था हमने, फर्स्ट जनरेशन से सेकंड जनरेशन की तरफ जाएंगे तो ग्राम नेगेटिव बैसिलाई की एक्टिविटी इंक्रीज हो जाएगी. This particular second generation cephalosporin has more activity than first generation cephalosporins against H. influenzae, E. coli and P. mirabilis. Now coming to third generation cephalosporins, है ना, oral parenteral, again it has oral drugs also, it has parenteral drugs also. Activity के बारे में हम आपसे पूछें, spectrum of activity, what is the spectrum of activity of third generation cephalosporins? You can say that it is effective against both gram negative and gram positive bacteria. Gram positive में बोले तो gram positive cocci and gram positive bacilli. Gram negative में बोले तो gram negative bacilli also. It is also resistant to beta-lactamases as compared to, more resistant to beta-lactamases as compared to first generation cephalosporins, as compared to simpler penicillins. So these are some general properties. Because it has wide spectrum of activity and it is available orally also, है ना, तो cefixime, drugs like cefixime are used and misused. अगर आपको कोई सोते से उठाए एकदम से, आप बड़े डॉक्टर साहब बन जाएं और आपको होना है किसी रिलेटिव का बुखार आ रहा है जी, है ना, आई एम हैविंग फीवर, और आपको कुछ ना सूझ रहा हो तो आप उसको cefixime तो लिख ही सकते हो, भले ही वो यूज हो या मिसयूज हो, वो आप ही जज करोगे बाद में. You can prescribe him cefixime because cefixime is covering both gram positive and gram negative infections. It is resistant to beta-lactamases. You can prescribe him cefixime. And other drugs like fluoroquinolone group of drugs are also sometimes misused. Similarly, anyways, we are talking about third generation cephalosporin. Oral one includes cefixime and cefdinine. Parenteral one includes cefotaxime, cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, cefoperazone, ceftazidime and ceftriaxone. इसमें से कुछ इंडिविजुअल कंपाउंड्स की कुछ पर्टिकुलर प्रॉपर्टीज होती हैं, सच एज सेफ्ट्राइएक्सोन क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, सेफोपेराजोन क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, सेफ्टाजिडीन क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, उसके बारे में अगर आपको कुछ याद रह जाए तो अच्छी बात है. Anyways, so third generation cephalosporins have high activity against gram-negative Enterobacteriaceae, है ना, gram-negative bacilli. Third generation cephalosporins have activity against Pseudomonas. Some members have better activity against Pseudomonas than other members of third generation cephalosporins. But in general, third generation cephalosporins are effective against Pseudomonas. And these are resistant to beta-lactamases from gram-negative bacteria also. These are less active on gram-positive cocci. These are less active on gram-positive cocci. So if you want to compare the effect of a cephalosporin on gram-positive cocci, first generation cephalosporin will have, in general, will have more activity against gram-positive cocci as compared to third generation cephalosporin. But still, third generation cephalosporins have activity against gram-positive cocci. Now, talking about this particular third generation cephalosporin, cefotaxime. Cefotaxime कौन सी है? Oral है या parenteral drug है? Can anyone tell me, is it an oral or a parenteral drug? Is anyone still listening? Parenteral, okay. Oral गलत करें आप, है ना, cefotaxime is a parenteral drug, है ना, दोबारा से देखिए. Oral one include only cefixime and cefdinine, whereas parenteral one includes cefotaxime, ceftriaxone, cefoperazone, ceftazidime and ceftriaxone. We are talking about cefotaxime, which is a prototype of parenteral third generation cephalosporin. Aerobic gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria are covered by this cephalosporin. It is not active on anaerobes and Pseudomonas. Although third generation के बारे में हमने आपसे कहा, in general they are effective, but this particular third generation cephalosporin is not active against anaerobes as well as Pseudomonas. Indications of third generation cephalosporin, particularly cefotaxime, include meningitis by gram-negative bacteria and life-threatening hospital-acquired infections and septicemia. तो जहाँ serious infections की बात आती है, वहाँ पे हम injectable third generation cephalosporins को देने की बात आती है. Infection in immunocompromised patients, we can also give cefotaxime in those patients. Usual doses are these, and single dose therapy for cefotaxime has been used 1 gram intramuscular and 1 gram propinicid for penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhoeae. urethritis. Here, single dose therapy is also used. What is probenecid? I hope you remember what is probenecid. Chalo, yaad hoga to aapko achhi baat. Now moving on to the second member of the parenteral third generation cephalosporin, ceftriaxone. Ceftriaxone has a longer duration of action. Usually it is given once or twice daily. It has a half-life of 8 hours. It has good CSF penetration. You will see a lot of ceftriaxone use in hospitals. Monocept के नाम से use होती है ना? Monocept injection लगा दो, monocept injection लगा दो. Ceftriaxone. It is highly efficacious, highly effective in cases of bacterial meningitis. Also, ceftriaxone is particularly useful in multi-resistant typhoid fever. So those cases of typhoid fever which are not being treated by first-line drugs, such as वो हम आपको बताएंगे आने वाले वक्त में, अगर आपको भी मालूम है तो अच्छा है, such as penicillin, such as fluoroquinolones. But ceftriaxone is used in multi-resistant typhoid fever. It is also useful in cases of complicated UTI. What are complicated UTI? What are uncomplicated UTIs? शायद आप पढ़ लें आगे जाके. Ceftriaxone is useful in abdominal sepsis. It is useful in septicemias. What are septicemias? When do we call a patient septic or having a septicemia? ये भी शायद आप आगे जाके पढ़ेंगे. Anyway, ceftriaxone, a single dose 250 milligram IM is curative in gonorrhea, including penicillin producing gonorrhea bacteria and chancroids. Moving on, ceftazidime, एक ही चीज highlighted करके लिखी हुई है that it has high activity against Pseudomonas. It has high activity against Pseudomonas. Especially useful in patients, in febrile neutropenic patients with hematological malignancies and also patients of burn. क्या burn patient को हम systemic antimicrobials देना prefer करते हैं? No, we do not prefer a patient of burns to be given systemic antimicrobials. We want to do blood counts, and only when we see that DLC is raised or neutrophils are increased, then only we give systemic antimicrobials. Otherwise, we try to contain the infection with only टॉपिकल एंटीमाइक्रोबियल्स है ना, जहां पर बर्न होता है, भले पूरी बॉडी पे बर्न हो तो पूरी बॉडी पे टॉपिकल एंटीमाइक्रोबियल्स लगा रहे होते हैं. अदरवाइज द पेशेंट इज इन hospital for such a long duration of time, you will keep on giving antimicrobials. But still, if a patient develops infection, systemic infection because of burns, ceftazidime is given. Ceftazidime is also important in Enterobacteriaceae. It is less active on Staph aureus and gram-positive cocci. This is the half-life. Neutropenia, thrombocytopenia. These are some usual side effects, adverse effects of ceftazidime. Now, what is important with cephalosporins? Cephalosporins, another member of third generation cephalosporin, parenterally given. Important activities, important points to be remembered about cephalosporin is that it is highly effective against Pseudomonas. It has a stronger activity on Pseudomonas as compared to ceftazidime, as compared to ceftriaxone, which may not have any activity against Pseudomonas. Anyways, we are talking about cephalosporin. Cephalosporin has stronger activity on Pseudomonas. It is also good for Salmonella type B and B fragilis, and sometimes it is more susceptible to beta-lactamases. These are some indications. Another important point to be remembered about cephalosporin is it is excreted mainly in bile. So although it may have some renal elimination also, but majority of it is eliminated in bile. So you may consider giving cephalosporin to a patient of renal failure, chronic renal failure, acute renal failure, because it is being excreted mainly in bile. It has biliary excretion. It is eliminated via the liver. So it may be considered to be given in patient of renal failure, patient with renal compromise. So these are two important points, that it has stronger activity on Pseudomonas, stronger than ceftazidime, and it is excreted mainly in bile. Another important property which is associated with cephalosporin is that it has disulfiram-like reaction with alcohol. What is disulfiram? What is disulfiram-like reaction? Who can tell me? Can anyone tell me? Usually alcohol is metabolized by which enzyme? What is the product of alcohol that produces euphoric effects? Alcohol is metabolized by alcohol dehydrogenase to aldehyde, and then aldehyde gets converted to acetic acid via aldehyde dehydrogenase. And disulfiram blocks the conversion of aldehyde to acetic acid. Acetic acid is responsible for producing euphoric effects. So the chain gets stuck at aldehyde level. Aldehyde accumulates in the blood and produces unpleasant effects. That is disulfiram. Disulfiram-like reaction. It is produced by cephalosporin. Anyways, moving on. What is cefixime? Cefixime is third generation cephalosporin, which is orally active. So whatever the properties of third generation cephalosporins, and if they are to be, the drug is to be given orally, it is to be effective. One drug which is effective orally is cefixime. So it is orally active with high activity against so many bacteria, and it is resistant to many beta-lactamases. So it is often used and misused. There are no contraindications to be of cefixime uses in children, in pregnant females, है ना? In general, क्या हमने beta-lactamases को आपको बोला था? These are contraindicated in pregnancy. नहीं बोला होगा. So all of these are good properties, and cefixime is used and misused commonly. Cefixime is longer acting, once or twice daily. Usually it is given twice daily in a dose of 200 milligram to 400 milligram in adults for respiratory tract infection, urinary tract infections, biliary infections, and so many infections. So people misuse cefixime a lot. And one common side effect is diarrhea. है सिर्फ इतना हल्का तो साइड इफेक्ट है, तो लोग नदियों में बहा देंगे cefixime थोड़े दिन के बाद. आप नदी में से पानी निकाल के पी लीजिए, आपका इन्फेक्शन ठीक हो जाएगा. Anyways, moving on. Third generation cephalosporin, cephalosporin. Cephalosporin is orally active. Previous one was cefixime, which was orally active. Cephalosporin is also orally active, and this is the only prodrug in third generation cephalosporin. It is effective against Enterobacteriaceae, strep and staph, and commonly used in respiratory, urinary, biliary infections, etc. Cefdinir कहाँ पे यूज होती है? क्या important properties होती हैं? If you can remember some, it is good. Moving on, ceftibutin is another third generation cephalosporin. Active against both positive and negative. We are still talking about the same properties of third generation cephalosporin. If you remember the drug, you can talk about the properties of third generation cephalosporin. If you do not remember its specific effects, you can talk about third generation cephalosporins only. Now coming to fourth generation cephalosporins, which only have parenteral drugs. No drug in fourth generation is effective orally. है ना, जब तक मैंने स्लाइड बनाई तब तक तो नहीं थी, शायद अभी एक दो ऐड हो गई हो, तो आप पढ़ के बताइएगा मुझको कि इसमें फोर्थ जनरेशन cephalosporin में ओरल ड्रग्स हैं या नहीं. Anyways, fourth generation cephalosporins have only parenteral drugs naming by the name of cefepime and cefepime. Cefepime or cefepime is highly resistant to beta-lactamases. यही कहा था हमने आपको जब हम कह रहे थे when we go from first generation to fourth generation, drugs tend to become more resilient to beta-lactamases. So cefepime is highly resistant to beta-lactamase. It has spectrum similar to third generation cephalosporins. There is additional activity against bacteria resistant to other drugs. Pseudomonas, staph are also inhibited, so it has good activity against Pseudomonas. It is effective in many serious infections like nosocomial infections. What are nosocomial infections? Go and read about what are nosocomial infections, also sometimes known as hospital-acquired infections. These are all. Cefepime is also effective in febrile neutropenia, bacteremia, septicemias. Usual dose is this. Fourth generation, the second member is cefpirome. Cefepime and cefpirome are two fourth generation cephalosporin. It is used in serious and resistant hospital-acquired infections, septicemias, lower respiratory tract infections. It has better penetration through foreign channels of gram-negative bacteria, and it is resistant to beta-lactamases. So, where do we use fourth generation cephalosporins? These are given parenterally and these are given in serious life-threatening infections, serious hospital-acquired infections. तो कोई इंसान फीवर लेकर आए जिसको राइनाइटिस हो रहा, उसको कैनुला लगा के आपको 4th जनरेशन सेफेलोस्पोरिन, सिफेपाइन, सिफेपिरोम नहीं देना है ना? इतनी बात समझने की कोशिश करनी है. These are drugs which are reserved for serious infections, है ना? लिखा हुआ है सेप्टिसीमियाज, हॉस्पिटल एक्वायर्ड इन्फेक्शंस, फेब्राइल न्यूट्रोपीनिया, these are some indications. आप यूज कर लेंगे नॉन सीरियस इन्फेक्शंस में भी, तो कोई आपको गोली नहीं मार दे, बट स्टिल आप ना यूज करें तो बेटर. So this is a table again showing useful spectrum of cephalosporins. कुछ remarks लिखे हुए हैं. First generation to 4th generation. As we go from 1st generation to 4th generation, हमने कहा था activity towards gram positive decreases, activity towards gram negative increases. As we go towards the lower generation, these are effective against Pseudomonas also, and 3rd generation, 4th generation are more resilient to beta-lactamases, है ना? But देखते हैं इन्होंने क्या लिखा है. First generation, what organisms are filled by, are usually used against by 1st generation cephalosporins. When we use 1st generation cephalosporin, organisms that is gram-positive cocci, streptococci, and staphylococci. 2nd generation include gram-negative bacilli such as E. coli, Proteus, M. catarrhalis, Klebsiella, H. influenzae, bacteroids. It is effective. The 2nd generations are effective against these gram-negative bacilli. 3rd generation are effective against gram-positive cocci, gram-positive bacilli. ऐसा था कुछ नहीं. So 3rd generation are effective against gram-positive cocci. Sorry, मैं खुद ही अपने आप को confuse कर रहा हूँ. 3rd generation effective against gram-positive cocci, gram-negative cocci, as well as gram-negative bacilli, as well as anaerobes such as bacteroids. So this is the activity of 3rd generation cephalosporin. And 4th generation spectrum of activity or the organisms which are covered are almost same as 3rd generation cephalosporins, as well as bacteria such as they have good activity against gram-positive cocci such as 1st generation cephalosporins. Those acquired by 1st generation. कुछ remarks लिखे हुए हैं. 1st generations are not active against penicillin-resistant strains. In 2nd generation bacteroids के against there are only few members which are effective. In 3rd generation cephalosporins, only ceftazidime and cefoperazone are effective against Pseudomonas. सिर्फ यही दो members होते हैं जो Pseudomonas के against effective होते हैं. Others are not generally effective against Pseudomonas. शायद पहले वक्त में होते हो, अब नहीं होते, है ना? हो सकता है अभी भी नहीं होते हो. Pseudomonas इतने ज्यादा 3rd generation cephalosporin दे दिए गए हो कि Pseudomonas के against इनकी activity अभी भी आनी बंद हो गई है. But books में तो यही लिखा हुआ है that in 3rd generation cephalosporin, ceftazidime and cefoperazone are effective against Pseudomonas. You can always combine a 3rd generation cephalosporin with other antimicrobials to increase their activity towards a particular bacteria. And these are similar in action as 1st generation against gram-positive cocci. 4th generation are more resistant to beta-lactamases. So these are some important things which might be remembered, may be helpful to you. Now, coming to the adverse effects. देखते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा serious adverse effects होते हैं या नहीं होते. Local irritation. Adverse effects, we are talking about adverse effects of cephalosporins in general, है ना? Local irritation, thrombophlebitis after IV injection, pain after IM injection can occur. Diarrhea due to disturbed gut ecology can occur. Hypersensitivity reactions can occur. Although cross-allergenicity, cross-sensitivity between penicillin and cephalosporin is 5 to 10%. Those patients who are hypersensitive to penicillins may or may not show hypersensitivity towards cephalosporin. But 5 to 10% patients will show cross-sensitivity with penicillins. Other adverse effects of cephalosporins include nephrotoxicity, including interstitial nephritis and even tubular necrosis. It is highest with cephalosporin. कैसे pronounce करेंगे कोई बता सकता है मुझको? मुझसे खुद pronounce नहीं होता. Cephalosporin. So cephalosporin is withdrawn because of nephrotoxicity, है ना? जैसे आप पेनिसिलिन में याद करेंगे Methicillin is not used because it causes interstitial nephritis. It will burn the kidneys of the patient. Similarly, cephalosporin is not used. Cephalosporin also causes similar nephrotoxicity. Moving on, adverse effects of cephalosporins के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. जब हम cephalosporins कह रहे हैं, you can also call them cephalosporins. Some people call them cephalosporins, है ना? तो pronunciation में कुछ नहीं रखा है, pronunciation में कुछ नहीं रखा है. आप थोड़ा जिस बात को समझिए, सिर्फ है ना, शब्दों पे मत जाइए. Cephalosporins, cephalosporins, same drugs हुए थे. Some adverse effects, other adverse effects of cephalosporins include hypoprothrombinemia and bleeding disorders. And these bleeding disorders are particularly associated with some of these cephalosporins. याद रखने की कोई ऐसी जरूरत नहीं है, but these can be prevented by giving vitamin K 10 milligram twice weekly. है ना? ऐसा क्यों होता है कि विटामिन K देने से ये वाला ब्लीडिंग डिसऑर्डर्स और हाइपोप्रोथ्रोम्बिनीमिया कम हो जाता है? इसके बारे में अगर आप पढ़ना चाहते हैं तो पढ़ सकते हैं. क्या ये एसोसिएटेड होता है गट इकोलॉजी के साथ? जो यूजफुल बैक्टीरिया those useful bacteria which are living inside the gut, are they associated with some vitamin K reduction? Are cephalosporins affecting those gut bacteria or gut organisms? Also, cephalosporins produce disulfiram-like interactions. है ना? एक ड्रग के साथ हमने आपको बताने की कोशिश करी थी. Neutropenia and thrombocytopenia are rare. So in general, cephalosporins are quite safe drugs. है ना? In general, these are quite safe drugs, and there are very few adverse effects. But still, you must remember what all adverse effects this can produce, and you must be on the lookout for those adverse effects. Now, fifth generation cephalosporins. Fifth generation के बारे में क्या बोला था? This is a new subclass with anti-MRSA activity. First generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation do not have activity against MRSA. But fifth generation has activity against MRSA. The members which are included in fifth generation cephalosporins include ceftaroline, also known as ceftaroline fusamine, ceftobiprole, and ceftolozane plus tazobactam combination. Ceftolozane is the fifth generation cephalosporin. Tazobactam is beta-lactamase inhibitor. So these are some members of fifth generation cephalosporins. कहाँ पे यूज करेंगे fifth generation cephalosporins? Again, life-threatening serious infections में, छोटे-मोटे infections में आपको नहीं यूज करना है. These are usually reserved category of medicine, not to be used as first-line drugs. है ना? कोई आपसे अगर इसकी spectrum activity पूछे तो आपको मालूम होना चाहिए. mechanism of action पूछे मालूम होना चाहिए. You must know where to use them. You must know where not to use them. At least you should know. Must की तो पता नहीं. Talking about ceftaroline, also known as ceftaroline fusamine, bactericidal. All cephalosporins are bactericidal by nature. Very few are bacteriostatic. Bactericidal, it is given parenterally, and when we come to spectrum, it has expanded or extended gram-positive activity, including action against PRSA and MRSA. So if you encounter MRSA, methicillin-resistant staph aureus, जिसके लिए हम vancomycin देते हैं, जिसके लिए हम और क्या कौन सी दवाई देते हैं MRSA के against? Fluoroquinolones भी दे सकते हैं, linezolid भी दे सकते हैं, है ना? So you can also give this fifth generation cephalosporin. Also, this fifth generation cephalosporin, ceftaroline, is effective against vancomycin resistant staph aureus. So PRSA के लिए जहाँ आप linezolid देते हैं, ceftaroline भी दे सकते हैं. Similar mechanism of action as any other beta-lactam antimicrobial, and FDA and European Medical Association approved this drug, ceftaroline, relatively newer drug. 2012 में European Medical Association ने, 2010 में US Food and Drug Administration FDA ने, US FDA ने 2010 में approved this drug for treatment of acute bacterial skin and soft tissue infections. SSSI लिखा हुआ है. This is not staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome. 4 times ऐसा आता है. This is skin and soft tissue infections and community acquired infections. So ceftaroline has been approved for treatment of acute bacterial skin and soft tissue infections. Also useful in complicated skin and soft tissue infections. Complicated and complicated के बीच में क्या difference होता है पता नहीं, आप बता सकते हैं. And complicated and community acquired pneumonias, including hospital acquired pneumonias. Uses of ceftaroline use of ceftaroline, use of this particular fifth generation cephalosporin induces this kind of beta-lactamase, also known as AMC beta-lactamase. This beta-lactamase is induced, its production is increased. This particular beta-lactamase is produced by gram-negative bacteria. Because ceftaroline induces production of this beta-lactamase AMC, this is avoided. Ceftaroline use is avoided in gram-negative bacteria, है ना? अगर हम gram-negative bacteria को ceftaroline देंगे, ceftaroline will induce the production of this particular beta-lactamase by the name of AMC beta-lactamase. Therefore, ceftaroline should be avoided against gram-negative bacteria. दे भी सकते हैं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, देना नहीं चाहिए gram negative के against, because gram negative will start producing a lot of beta-lactamases. Otherwise, ceftaroline has low potential for resistance development. It has a favorable safety and tolerability profile. तो अच्छी ड्रग है, कोई बुरा नहीं है इसके बारे में. Ceftobiprole. Ceftobiprole कौन सी थी ड्रग, इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग यहाँ पे? Who can tell me what we are talking about here? Is anybody still listening? aldehyde dehydrogenase. Ceftobiprole is aldehyde dehydrogenase. Acetaldehyde. 1153 पे इसकी और आंसर्स. अच्छा नहीं, इसका मतलब there is something going on with these answers. No. अच्छा ठीक है. Sir, you are not audible. अच्छा ऐसी बात है. Fifth generation cephalosporins. ठीक बात है, आप सही बोल रहे हैं लोग. सही बात है, थोड़ा सा लैग है आंसर्स में, बट हाँ, most of you are answering correctly. That we are talking about fifth generation cephalosporin. I hope आप खोए नहीं हो अभी तक. So ceftaroline is a fifth generation cephalosporin given parenterally. है ना? What is the spectrum? Expanded activity against gram-negative, gram-positive bacteria, including MRSA. That is why it is a fifth generation cephalosporin. Ceftobiprole is in development phase. इंडिया में अप्रूव्ड है या नहीं है? नहीं है ना इंडिया में. सेफ्टोबिप्रोल अगर आप कोशिश करोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा, बट दिस इज अप्रूव्ड इन कनाडा, स्विट्जरलैंड, यूरोप एंड अदर यूरोपियन and so many countries. Then main indication is complicated skin and soft tissue infection and hospitalized community acquired pneumonia. Hospitalized community acquired pneumonia. Hospitalized pneumonia. Patient developing pneumonia inside the hospital acquired pneumonias. Now coming to the next member of fifth generation cephalosporin, which is ceftolozane. It is usually combined with this particular beta-lactamase inhibitor by the name of tazobactam. It is a novel cephalosporin. बीच में भी कुछ लिखा है ऑक्सी इमिनो अमाइनो थायाजोलिल cephalosporin. जरूरी नहीं है आपको याद रहे, जरूरी नहीं है, बिल्कुल याद रखना ही नहीं है, और चीजें भूल जाओगे इसके ऊपर में. Ceftazolin is a novel, it is a new cephalosporin, and spectrum includes serious gram-negative infections. These are the organisms which are associated with serious infections. And this ceftolozane became available in 2040. It is used for the treatment of complicated UTIs and complicated intra-abdominal infections. So, fifth generation cephalosporins को आपको normal infections में नहीं देना है. These are reserved category of drugs usually given for complicated infections. And these are developed for treatment of infections with gram-negative bacteria that have become resistant to conventional antibiotics. है ना? Conventional antibiotics कौन सी यूज होती हैं gram-negative bacteria के against? Gram-negative bacteria कौन सी antibiotics commonly used antibiotics से आप kill कर सकते हैं. Extended spectrum penicillins भी use कर सकते हैं आप, aminoglycosides भी use कर सकते हैं, fluoroquinolones भी use कर सकते हैं, simpler ones. But अगर you come across a complicated infection which has become resistant to these normal antibiotics, you can use this fifth generation cephalosporin. Now, cephalosporin khatam. Now, beta-lactam antimicrobials. We are talking about beta-lactam antimicrobials. We talked about penicillin. We talked about cephalosporins. Now we are going to talk about carbapenems. Don't worry, I'll give you a break in another 10 minutes. We'll come back and we'll try to complete sulfonamides. So, we are talking about beta-lactam antimicrobials, penicillin, cephalosporins की बात कर ली, monobactams की बात करेंगे, but now we'll talk about carbapenems or carbapenems. Carbapenems are beta-lactams that contains a fused beta-lactam ring and a 5-membered ring that differs from penicillin in being unsaturated and containing a carbon atom. Structure बताना important नहीं है, आप लोगों को ये बताना important है. Carbapenems mean they contains a carbon atom, है ना, instead of sulfur atom. शायद आपको याद रह जाए इस वजह से कि कार्बापेनम बीटा-लैक्टम्स में आती हैं, बीटा-लैक्टम से कैसे डिफर करती हैं. Carbapenems have a broader spectrum of activity than most other beta-lactam antimicrobials, है ना. लेफ्ट में हमने कार्बापेनम का स्ट्रक्चर बना रखा है. This structure is of a carbapenem antimicrobial, है ना. This is for penicillins. जहाँ इसमें 5, जहाँ पेनिसिलिन में अगर आप देखोगे तो 5 मेंबर्ड वाले में सल्फर था, तो ये सल्फर अगर किसी ने कार्बन से रिप्लेस कर दिया तो इट बिकेम अ कार्बापेनम. बिकॉज कार्बन रिप्लेस हो गया, कार्बापेनम्स बन गया, है ना. Also these 3 subgroups, these side chains R1, R2, R3, लेफ्ट वाला कार्बापेनम का स्ट्रक्चर है. R1, R2, R3 को अगर आप चेंज करेंगे तो उसकी स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ एक्टिविटीज के फार्माकोकाइनेटिक्स चेंज हो जाएंगे. So anyways, carbapenems have a broader spectrum of activity than most other beta-lactam antibiotics. They have a broad spectrum of activity, Yeah, carbapenems have broad spectrum of activity than most other beta-lactam antibiotics. अगर आपसे पूछे कि broad spectrum beta-lactam कौन सी होती है, तो शायद आप किसी carbapenem का नाम ले सकते हैं, तो वो गलत नहीं होगा. Now, these are some members of carbapenems, include namely imipenem, meropenem, altapenem, doripenem. और भी 2-3 नाम लिखे होते हैं, है ना. बट ये इसमें से 1-2 अगर आपको याद रह जाए या एक आधा भी याद रह जाए तो आपके लिए अच्छा है ना. बहुत ही अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा है. So these are certain carbapenem drugs, carbapenem group of beta-lactams. Carbapenems include these members by the name of imipenem, meropenem, altapenem, and doripenem. What is imipenem? Imipenem is derived from a compound produced by this particular organism, Streptomyces cattleya. तो आप इसको antibiotic भी कह सकते हैं. Typically speaking, आप इसको antimicrobial तो कह ही सकते हैं because antimicrobial is an umbrella terminology. But imipenem is derived from a compound produced by Streptomyces, this particular species. It binds to, again, penicillin binding proteins to start bacterial cell wall synthesis done by any other beta-lactams. Imipenem is very resistant to hydrolysis by most beta-lactamases. That is why imipenem belongs to carbapenems, and carbapenems have a broader spectrum of activity than most other beta-lactam antibiotics. Okay, so is very resistant to hydrolysis by most beta-lactamases. Pharmacokinetics में कुछ important चीज होती हैं, that it is not absorbed orally, it needs to be injected, है ना. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने एम्प्यूल तोड़ा, इमिपेनम का उसको पी गए, उसको खा गया, पेशेंट को दे दिया कि हाँ पेट से एब्जॉर्ब हो जाएगा. शायद कोई एंटीबायोटिक होती हो ऐसी भी, which is to be given parenterally, but it might be given orally to attain what? Gut sterilization, है ना. अगर आपको सिर्फ gut gastrointestinal tract को clean करना हो of any particular pathogenic or non-pathogenic bacteria, you do not want it to be absorbed into the system, you may give that particular antibiotic by oral route also, but imipenem में नहीं होता. So imipenem is given by injection, it is not absorbed orally. An important pharmacokinetic property of imipenem is that it is rapidly hydrolyzed, it is rapidly destroyed by this particular dehydropeptidase enzyme. It is rapidly hydrolyzed by dehydropeptidase enzyme, which is found in brush border of proximal renal tubules, है ना. renal tubules कहाँ होते हैं? किडनी में. proximal renal tubules भी होते हैं, distal भी होते हैं. तो proximal renal tubules के brush border epithelium में there is an enzyme by the name of dehydropeptidase. This enzyme destroys imipenem drug, which is given against resistant microorganism. So if we want imipenem to be effective, we give imipenem along with an inhibitor of this dehydropeptidase. That inhibitor of dehydropeptidase is a drug by the name of cilastatin. So imipenem is usually given with cilastatin because otherwise imipenem is hydrolyzed by dehydropeptidase, which is found in kidneys. So an inhibitor of dehydropeptidase, cilastatin, is usually given along with imipenem. And both these imipenem and cilastatin have a half-life of 1 hour. This is the usual dosage and dosage modification with renal insufficiency. Sari drugs ke saath we do that. If there is renal insufficiency and the drug is being eliminated, we will do some drug dose adjustment. Moving on to antibacterial, antimicrobial spectrum. Imipenem plays a role in empirical therapy because it is active against penicillinase producing gram-positive, gram-negative organisms as well as anaerobes and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Because इसकी इतनी सारी activity होती है, it is effective against a wide range of organisms, gram-positive organism, gram-negative organism, anaerobes and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. तो जब तक हम organism को identify नहीं कर पाए, तब तक हम empirically good clinical judgment में imipenem दे सकते हैं patient को. है ना? Imipenem, last point. Now I'm reading only the last point. Imipenem plus cilastatin and meropenem. Meropenem is another drug which belong to carbapenem group. Imipenem क्या meropenem आ रहा था. So we are saying that imipenem plus cilastatin is usually given with cilastatin. This imipenem plus cilastatin as well as meropenem, other carbapenem group of drug. These two are broadest spectrum beta-lactam antibiotics. अगर आपसे कोई पूछे which is the broadest spectrum beta-lactam antimicrobial, so you can easily say imipenem plus cilastatin or meropenem. These are broadest spectrum beta-lactam antibiotics. Moving on, ये diagram है, figure है, which is showing the spectrum of activity against so many bacteria. This is showing spectrum of activity of imipenem against so many bacteria. So this can be used against so many bacteria. है ना? It is a broad spectrum drug. जरूरी नहीं है एक और सारे bacteria के नाम याद रहे. But you must remember imipenem. It is a broad spectrum antibiotic. It is the broadest spectrum beta-lactam antimicrobial. What are the adverse effects? Nausea, vomiting occurs with any other drug. Imipenem may produce seizures when high doses are given in patients with CNS lesions and those with renal insufficiency. So caution must be exercised while using imipenem in such patients. Patients allergic to penicillin may show hypersensitivity. So cross sensitivity के chances होते हैं with when we talk about beta-lactams, we talk about carbapenems. If a person is allergic to penicillins, it is when a person is allergic to penicillin, there are chances he will be allergic to carbapenems also, and imipenem belonging to carbapenem group. So allergy to penicillin, those patients who are allergic to penicillin may show hypersensitivity towards imipenem also. Other adverse effects of imipenem include eosinophilia and neutropenia. These may occur very rarely. Now, what are the therapeutic uses? Normal infections में नहीं use करना है, serious infections में use करना है. So, therapeutic uses of imipenem include empirical treatment of serious infections in hospitalized patients. Also used in complicated UTIs, lower respiratory tract infections, intra-abdominal gynecological infections. हर infection में use नहीं करना, सिर्फ complicated infections के लिए reserved category of medicine रखनी है. ठीक है? They can be used in skin and soft tissue infections, bone and joint infections. Drug combination especially useful for infection caused by cephalosporin resistant nosocomial bacteria such as Citrobacter and Enterobacter. So those bacteria which have become resistant to cephalosporins, there we can use carbapenems also, such as imipenem. And imipenem should not be used alone. There is a risk of resistance. So imipenem को भी combine कर दीजिए आप किसी और antimicrobial. Moving on to meropenem. Meropenem, how does meropenem differ from imipenem? इसमें कुछ लिखा हुआ है, शायद आप कुछ पढ़ पाए. देखें कितने स्टूडेंट्स अभी तक सुन रहे हैं. 218 of you are still here. Good. So meropenem, how does meropenem differ from? इसकी बात कर रहे थे इससे पहले imipenem. Imipenem के साथ हमें we have to give cilastatin, but with meropenem does not require co-administration with cilastatin. It is not sensitive to degradation by renal dipeptidase. है ना? It is less likely to cause seizures. हमने imipenem में कहा था it may cause seizures in patients with CNS lesion. Meropenem may not produce that. It has good activity. Meropenem has good activity against Pseudomonas. It is less active against certain gram-positive foci. And meropenem is always therapeutically equivalent to imipenem. है ना? जहाँ जहाँ पे आप imipenem यूज कर रहे थे वहाँ वहाँ पे आप meropenem भी यूज कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? Although there would be certain plus points, certain minus points. Nitty-gritties में अगर आप जाएंगे तो आप पढ़ सकते हैं बड़े होने के बाद और चीजों को. What is ertapenem? Ertapenem, another carbapenem, it is same as meropenem except it is not given in epilepsy patient on valproic acid as it decreases the levels of valproate, sodium valproate or valproic acid. Ertapenem, which is a carbapenem group of beta-lactam antimicrobial, it is not to be given in epilepsy patients who are managed by valproic acid. Valproic acid is an anti-seizure medicine given in patients of epilepsy. एपिलेप्सी का पेशेंट है who is stable on a dose of valproic acid. उस पेशेंट को आप ertapenem मत दीजिए because ertapenem has a tendency to decrease valproic acid levels. Valproic acid levels decrease हो जाएंगे तो एपिलेप्सी का थेराप्यूटिक फेलियर हो जाएगा. एपिलेप्सी दोबारा से हो जाएगी पेशेंट को, है ना? उसके इन्फेक्शन से ठीक हो जाएंगे बट एपिलेप्सी दोबारा से हो सकती है. So it is not to be given in epileptic patients on valproic acid as it decreases the level of valproic acid. There are so many mechanisms by which valproic acid levels are decreased by ertapenem. Some are decreased absorption of valproic acid, increased metabolism, etc. नहीं याद रहते तो कोई बात नहीं. Ertapenem is less costly than meropenem. पता नहीं कहाँ पे important होगा ये. Important point about ertapenem is that it is administered once daily. है ना? शायद दूसरी वाली कार्बापेनम एक बार से ज्यादा देनी पड़ती है. मीरोपेनम है ना? मीरोपेनम से हम डिफरेंसेस कर रहे थे. मीरोपेनम नीड्स टू बी गिवन twice or thrice daily, twice daily commonly. Ertapenem is to be administered once daily. However, ertapenem has less or no activity against Pseudomonas and Enterococcus. तो आप उस इन्फेक्शंस में मीरोपेनम को ही दीजिए. डोरीपेनम. डोरीपेनम, व्हाट इज डोरीपेनम? कार्बापेनम्स की बात कर रहे हैं, है ना? Doripenem is the latest carbapenem to be approved and it is similar to meropenem except for some minuscule pharmacokinetic properties. There may be some, we are talking about carbapenems, उसमें हमने imipenem, meropenem, ertapenem, doripenem की बात करी. All these are given parenterally, all these have to be injected. शायद यहाँ पे एक आधा कोई कंपाउंड हो जो orally भी दिया जा सकता हो, but that compound may or may not have been approved still. अच्छी बात है ना approve हो तो, है ना? These are higher antimicrobials. Oral जितनी भी higher antimicrobials हैं अगर उसके orally acceptable compounds आ जाएंगे तो उसका market में misuse ज़्यादा होगा. Common infections के लिए लोग देंगे. But there may be certain drugs which are orally available, which can be given orally, but they may be in development pipeline still. है ना? Development phase में अभी तक market में नहीं आए. So we talked about carbapenems, है ना? beta-lactam antimicrobials में we talked about cephalosporins, we talked about penicillins, we talked about carbapenems just, and now we are going to talk about monobactams. सिर्फ 2 मिनट लगेंगे, monobactams खत्म हो जाएंगी, है ना? The only compound, we talked about penicillins, we talked about cephalosporins, we talked about carbapenems. Now we are going to talk about monobactams. Monobactams में there is a single compound which is approved for clinical use. It is aztreonam. It is by the name of aztreonam, है ना? और थोड़ा फैंसी तरीके से भी आप कह सकते हैं aztreonam. Aztreonam. So aztreonam is the only available compound in monobactams. Monobactam क्यों कहा? Because it contains a monocyclic beta-lactam ring. इसमें सिर्फ एक ही रिंग होता है ना? और मेन जो स्ट्रक्चर होता है, although इसके monobactams के हमारे पास बहुत सारे कंपाउंड्स नहीं है. aztreonam का स्ट्रक्चर देखें तो उसमें एक से ज्यादा रिंग भी होगा, but still it is a monocyclic beta-lactam antimicrobial and this is secondary amino group. यहाँ पे अगर आप स्ट्रक्चर देख रहे हो तो secondary amino group में एक और रिंग है, but जो मेन स्ट्रक्चर था beta-lactam वाला सिर्फ एक सिंगल beta-lactam रिंग है, साइड में कोई रिंग ही नहीं है. इसीलिए शायद इसको monobactam कहते हैं, because it contains a monocyclic beta-lactam antimicrobial. It contains a monocyclic beta-lactam ring not attached with any other kind of thing. Secondary amino group से और दूसरा आपको रिंग नजर आ रहा होगा. Structure is not important again. Just remember that monobactams belong to beta-lactam antimicrobials. It has a monocyclic beta-lactam antimicrobial ring. The only available compound is aztreonam. Okay, it is isolated. Aztreonam is isolated from Chromobacterium oilacea. You can call it an antibiotic also. Again, it interacts with penicillin binding proteins of susceptible bacteria, including the formation of inducing the formation of long filamentous bacteria-like structures. In the presence of aztreonam, bacteria start forming long filamentous bacteria-like structure. Because bacterial cell wall deficient होती है, so instead of producing single bacterium, they produce long filamentous bacterium-like structures. Sorry. Now, coming to antibacterial activity of aztreonam. Aztreonam differs from beta-lactams. In general, aztreonam differs from beta-lactam. Beta-lactams are generally effective against gram-positive, and ज़्यादातर gram-positive के against effective होती थी. But this particular beta-lactam, monobactam, aztreonam differs from other beta-lactams. It resembles aminoglycosides because aminoglycosides are more effective against gram-negative bacteria. This aztreonam is generally not effective against gram-positive and anaerobes. So gram-positive bacteria and anaerobes are resistant to aztreonam. अगर आप gram-positive bacteria and anaerobes के लिए aztreonam दे रहे हैं तो आप गलत दे रहे हैं. However, aztreonam has excellent activity against Enterobacteriaceae, Pseudomonas, H. elephansi, Pneumococci, etc., and it is resistant to any beta-lactamases. Coming to pharmacokinetics, administered parenterally. This is elimination half-life, can accumulate in patients with renal failure. There is nothing unusual here, and this is the usual dose. जब use करोगे तो अपने आप याद आ जाएगी. Thank you. Now we will talk about sulfonamides. Take a break of 5 minutes, please. Come back in another 5 minutes. Thank you.